Welcome to the UIF Community Podcast. Before we get started, please keep in mind that this podcast is for educational and entertainment purposes only. The views and opinions expressed are those of the individual presenters and do not necessarily reflect UIF Corporation or its affiliates.
On today's episode, we will be discussing one of the most read and highly acclaimed business books, Good to Great by Jim Collins. This business classic is a New York Times bestseller and translated in over 30 different languages. I am your host, Omar Subhani, and joining me are Ijaz Hussain and Farah Zaitar. Ijaz is Executive Vice President of Sales and Director at UIF. Farah leads our auto financing team, and I am VP of Sales Central Region at UIF. For those of you not familiar with our company, UIF, we are the number one faith-based financing company in the U.S. We offer home, commercial, auto financing, and investment options. Please visit our website, www.myuif.com, to learn more about UIF. As always, we have one goal for this podcast, and that is to add value to your life. By educating you on topics that interest you, we hope to fulfill our goal. With that said, welcome to the UIF Community Podcast. Let's get started by discussing the current economic conditions. Ijaz, what are your thoughts on the current state of the housing market and the U.S. financing industry?
Hey, As-Salaam, everyone. So glad to be back with you. Our podcast is off to a good start, Omar. Over 70,000 listeners now from all the various platforms that we offer. So very proud of that. And I just want to start off by really thanking all the listeners and making us so successful in a short period of time. Truly, we appreciate it. We put a lot of hard work into this, preparing, presenting, and hoping we keep adding value to your life. So I want to get that out of the way. Economic update, Omar, very quickly, as we sit in a very unique perch where we get to see economic reports coming in and also how applications are coming in from 32 different markets we serve on the home financing front and also auto financing, commercial real estate. And it's clear that the economy is starting to slow down. The U.S. economy is slowing down. The recent inflation reports have been tepid at best. Inflation is going down, which is very, very good news for the average person on the street. And unemployment report that came out recently in early September for the month of August showed weakness and greater weakness than what was expected. The economy was supposed to have created 161,000 jobs. And it came in about 140,000 or so. But more importantly, even the last few months were revised lower. So what that is telling, and when you look at other reports, the PMI manufacturing reports, and some of the other reports we look at, and what I hear from some of the investment managers and money managers I listen to, that the economy is slowing down. Most likely, September might be the first month where we might be already in a recession. Now, what is good and bad about that? Bad news, obviously, for people who lose jobs or who may lose their job during recession. But the good news for people in our industry is if the rates do go down, because the Fed will have to take some action if we're going into recession, people are losing jobs. The way Fed counters that is by cutting short-term rates. So idea being, when you lower the rates in the economy, that spurs more borrowing. More borrowing means businesses borrow and put money to work, whether it's investing in technology, in hardware, hiring more people, et cetera, et cetera. That's the whole game plan. But for us, on the financing side, rates going down is good news because now we can offer homes at better financing rates. Many customers who did buy homes over the last year at higher mortgage rates will be able to refinance them. So I encourage all our listeners, if you have financed a home recently, I'm talking about the last year or so, check back with UIF. We may have better pricing for you, better rates, terms for you, and it'll help you. So you'll be able to save monthly money on your monthly housing payments. Or same thing for auto financing, where rates will go down. If you have credit card balances you carry, you'll see those rates come down as well. So net, it is good for people who are employed because their overall cost of living will come down because your monthly payments go down. And also oil, I've been tracking oil, which is a big indicator of economies. Oil has been moving dramatically lower. I'm sure you can see that on the gas pumps as well at your local gas stations. But oil has been going down, and that's a big sign of it's usually a leading indicator, they call it, of an economy going into recession, basically. So yes, there are we may have seen some more bad news coming through, but also we may see some good news for people who are employed, who can stay employed because they will save money on some of these financing costs. So that's sort of a rough economic update, Omar. We will hope to come back in a few weeks with an update to this, and we go from here.
Sounds good, Ajaz. I just want to point out, though, in the great state of Texas, where I'm at, the gas is always cheap. Always. Yep.
We can't say that about in Chicago, though, to be honest with you.
That's exactly what I was saying. I was kind of rubbing that in a little bit. Don't even pay attention to what the cost is at the pump. So one of the many blessings in the great big state of Texas. So
I'm a little jealous.
I
Just
know,
a little bit jealous.
a little bit. I know a little bit. I know up north it's bites the pocketbook a little bit more up there, but definitely would benefit down here in the south. So, but yeah, hopefully the gas prices improve, and it's one of those less bumpy recessions than in the past, for everybody involved in the country. So, but yeah, moving forward, we have a really, really awesome book. I think between the three of us, having read it and studied it, we have a really, really great book to cover today. I think our audience are really going to like this topic. But before I get into that, I want to ask Ajaz about this book. The book is Good to Great by Jim Collins. It's, a bestseller, national bestseller. Over 5 million copies have been sold. And Ajaz, I want to ask you, why did we decide to cover this book in particular?
Yes, Omar. So, one of the main goals we have to this podcast is because we're trying to add value to the life of our listeners. And that is the reason why we've chosen books in the past, including this one, that we feel are not only interesting and educational, but I think if some of the ideas and principles are enacted, uh, even at an individual level or at a business level, it can greatly impact the life of people. We have many audience members, both young and middle-aged and older, who are either current business owners already or will start a business someday. And many younger listeners who are either already working in management or will manage a company or people someday. And this book really caters to all of them and really is a must read. And while you, me, and Farah can cover some of the highlights, some of the main points of the book, I always leave you by saying that you must read the book to truly appreciate the nuances and the points the authors make in this book, or any book for that matter. This is one of my favorite books. I read this book back in 2005. The book had come out in 2001. I was absolutely riveted and fascinated by the content. And since then, I've read this book one other time. I've listened to it again in an audio CD format. And again, for preparation for this podcast, I went back and reviewed all my notes again and did some more research, putting in about 10 to 15 hours of extra work on going back and reviewing notes and so forth. So I really feel this is a phenomenal book. It's a must read. And I truly feel it can make a huge difference in people's lives, again, if they can implement some of the ideas in their daily lives. And that's what we do at UIF as well, implementing some of the ideas over here at our company. And I honestly feel our company has gone from good to great, using many of the principles that were first introduced in this book. So that's really the reason why, Umar, why we decided to choose this book today.
Appreciate that, Ajaz. So without further ado, we're going to start getting into the main topics, main themes of this book. So we want to start first with the topic that's called First Who, Then What. So Farah, I'm going to ask you kind of...
Before you go to that, and I want to get to that, some of the concepts, before you do that, I want to give a little introduction and history on this book. I covered why this book, but just a little bit more background so the audience members appreciate how this book was constructed, and then we'll get to some of the ideas. So, with your permission, if you don't mind, let me just touch upon that very quickly here.
Absolutely.
So, this book was written by Jim Collins. Jim Collins is a very successful author. He's a Stanford professor. He's also a business coach and consultant for many CEOs. He's written multiple books on business, on leadership. And when I read books from other CEOs as well, Jeff Bezos from Amazon and Satya Nadella, Microsoft, and others, they have mentioned about how some of the ideas from this book they themselves incorporated in their own companies. So it's really a very, very popular business book, and the research that went behind it is amazing as well. This was a 10-year project where Jim Collins and his team they studied over 1,400 books. I mean, sorry, 1,400 publicly traded companies. I meant to say, I'm sorry. And it was an extensive research project. They studied the operating results of these companies. But not only that, they interviewed thousands of ex-management employees, vendors, competitors as part of the research process. And then from the 1,400 companies that they were in the database, they identified 11 companies, just 11, that over a stretch of 15 years outperformed all of their competitors by a 7-1 margin. So a huge outperformance. And the way they judged them was they used stock performance, return on equity, book value, traditional, financial metrics. But they also did one thing which I thought was interesting. They said, they didn't want companies in here that were they had one hit wonder, one fluke product that really did well, or flash in the pan, and then they flamed out. So they avoided those kind of companies. So they focused on companies that had a long running history. And then at some point in time, these companies just changed the course and they started trending upward. And then they outperformed. So these were companies that were in an industry where there were other companies operating as well. But at some point, something happened. And then they went over a 15-year stretch where they performed peers substantially. Now, it's a snapshot in time. And as we know, over a 100-year history of business, companies are going to be up and down, and they'll be successful at some points. They'll go down at some points. But this research project is what they focused on. And then they used these 11 companies that, there was nothing unique. They didn't have some big product that came and it took the competitors out. It wasn't anything like that. It wasn't some radical move, but something happened. And they focused on what that something happened that changed their trajectory. And this is what the book answers the question that why did these companies make that leap while other companies did not, and is that replicable? So this is how the transition started, and then they identified some principles, and within the three main principles, they talked about some of the concepts that we're going to talk about today, and the basically three principles really they focused on and they figured out were these companies really were very self-disciplined, more so in three areas: disciplined people, disciplined thought, and disciplined action. And when these principles came together, and with the right people, the right thoughts, strategy, and the execution, the action, they outperformed their competitors, and that's what was a change. So, with that said, Omar, let's dive into the first part of this disciplined people, which is very, very important in these companies' growth and success. So Farah, I think you're up. Omar was going to introduce you. Let me just go ahead and do that. The book talks about disciplined people with the concept of first who, then what. What does that mean, Farah?
First who, then what? This is a concept that honestly helps you build the most effective team. By first getting the right people on the bus and the wrong people off the bus before even figuring out the what, where your destination is, what you're planning to do, that is one of the most effective way to actually build a team. The three main points that I honestly got from this book, from this concept, is one in doubt, don't hire, keep looking. The right people are there. They're out there. They are just going to take a little bit longer to find, which is perfectly normal, but getting the right person and not just hiring to hire will help you build this team. The second one I got is when a change is needed, you must act quickly. Action is the key. There's no point in delaying it. If it needs to be done, it must be done quickly. And the last one I got is put the best people on your biggest opportunity. Allow them to go ahead and do what they do best, which in return will eventually get you the best of that company or product or whatever you are looking for. Do you guys have any thoughts about this?
Omar, you want to go? Then I have a few I want to
Yeah,
add.
I mean, I did. I mean, I just thought it was interesting. One of their expectations when they did the study was about executive compensation. That they thought that, okay, well, if you comp people, large amounts of money, then yeah, you'll get the right people, right? But it didn't work that way. It was really just like Fada said, the first principle is about if you get the right people in, the compensation doesn't matter really in the end of the day. Like, yeah, it's great for them personally, but it doesn't really move the needle for the company itself. So really, if people are in senior management, they're hiring, you're trying to identify the right talent to bring in, and then all the carrots and whatnot that will help obviously down the line and improve things, but it's not the core of what really makes the whole I guess the flywheel move, right? I guess we'll get into that concept later, but really make the flywheel move and get the company going in the right direction. Really, the core of it, the base of it is you got to get the right people, right? So
Right.
yeah, Ajaz, did you want to add something?
Yeah. To your point, Omar, that's a great finding. The author makes a comment that compensation plans it doesn't make you help find the right people. And the quote he used was, "It's who you pay, not how you pay them, is important." So who you pay, the right people you pay is important, not how you pay them. And another quote that really resonated with me was it says, you always hear this, people are your most important asset. And the book says that's not true. Right people are your most important asset. So that's a point that's underlined, that the right people are the most important asset. That's why getting the right people on the bus is extremely important. And in the book, one of the things I really liked was conventional thinking in C-suites, the boards usually who hire the CEOs and the executive teams. And I've been fortunate and blessed to have been part of a few different senior management teams. The conventional wisdom before was, hire a genius leader with 1,000 followers, meaning you hire a smart, charismatic leader, and they will then create a vision and chart the course, and then they will hire managers who will implement his or her strategy. So this has been the thinking, right? You hire a great leader who's sharp, who's charismatic, and then they set the strategy. The problem with that approach is that what happens when the leader leaves? Okay, where does that leave the company? So they said many companies just come apart when that happens. So what the book is saying is well, great companies focus on hiring the right people who can work as a team and then chart a course together. So who you hire is more important than where you want to go, because once you have the right people, they will take you to the promised land. You have the wrong people, you're out of luck. So who are the right people? The right people are someone with intelligence, ethical, engaged, and self-motivated. Because when business conditions change, and they will change at some point in time, the right people, they can adapt and help companies succeed over time. And because they're driven and they are motivated, they require a lot less supervision, making the organization very efficient over time. So some of these points the book makes about the right people, and it spends a considerable amount of time on this, focusing on first who, then what. And I think both you and Farah did a good job covering some of the basic over there. So why don't you get into the second concept under this disciplined people? What is that?
Yeah, so we're gonna go over level 5 leadership. So level 5 leadership, it's all about the blend of personal humility and professional willpower. Level 5 leaders are ambitious, but not for themselves. It's about building a great company, that thrives long after they're gone. They're more like a plow horse than a show horse, consistently working to produce results while keeping their egos in check. What really sets them apart is their approach to success and failure. When things go well, they give credit to their team. When things go wrong, they take full responsibility. This is the opposite of many comparison CEOs that the book studied, who often sought personal glory or would leave their successors with a mess. These leaders build enduring companies that continue to thrive into the future. So level 5 leadership is the pinnacle of leadership development, following a progression from level 1, which is a highly capable individual, up to level 5, where leaders drive transformational success as top executives. The essence of level 5 leadership is a combination of humility, intense resolve, and a relentless drive to make the company great for the long haul. These leaders don't chase the spotlight. They focus on building something that will endure. And Ajaz, Farah, I think one of the really interesting things that I got out of this is I didn't know a single one of these CEOs that they mentioned in the book. Like literally not a single one of them that they mentioned. I was like, I don't know who any of these people were. And that was kind of the point, is they were all very humble, but what set them apart is they were just ferocious competitors internally. They never really showed it. And I think that's what was really, really interesting to me, is that they just didn't seek the limelight. Most common people probably didn't ever heard of them or even some of their companies, but they drove their companies, from good to great because of their competitiveness, their drive, their focus on the big picture. Ijaz, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think you covered it well, Omar. The thing I wanted to add is, you just made the point. The level 5 leader, by definition, is someone who's not a media hound. They're not seeking popularity or notoriety for themselves. So when the book, in my opinion, this chapter or this level 5 leadership really is the heart of the book. And I don't think any business can truly be successful if they don't have some version of a level 5 leader. And it talks about, and then he describes, the book gets into what the level 1 leader is, more like a highly capable individual, like a shift leader, line supervisor, somebody who knows his job well, and the company says, why don't you supervise a couple of people, right? And then from there it goes on. Level 2, it's contributing team member. The 3 is a competent manager who can get the job done. 4 is an effective business leader, been around the company for many, many years, knows the people, knows the politics, knows the processes, he can get the job done. But the level 5 leader, I feel the big difference is empathy. And this is where, when you take all the skill sets of an effective business leader, level 4, and then to that you add that empathy, by meaning with no ego, yet they care about others. Okay, they're ambitious, but not to themselves, but for the company. They focus on building next generation leaders, as you talked about, which is very important to develop talent below you. So one day you're going to be gone, the CEO is going to be gone. Who's next? Can they take it from here and grow the company? And finally, the level 5 leader is someone who takes responsibility for failures, but shares credit abundantly. And there's a quote from Harry Truman that I'm not sure if I got it from the book or another place, but it said, "You can accomplish anything in life, provided that you don't mind who gets the credit." And I think a level 5 leader is all about basically, sharing the credit, but being accountable when things go bad. And in the world, many times we see CEOs, political leaders who are all about themselves. When something goes wrong, somebody else's fault. When things go good, hey, give me all the credit, right? So that's not a level 5 leader. And the book talks about that having a level 5 leader is extremely important for a company to go from good to great. I want to now move to the second principle we're talking about. Farah, did you have anything to add to this level 5 leadership, or are we good with that?
You guys are good. You guys described it perfectly.
Okay, thank you, Farah. The second principle of the book, once you've identified the people, you've identified the right people, the right leadership, now you change to disciplined thought. This was more about company vision, company strategy, and the first concept discussed here was confronting the brutal facts. I'll just cover this from my side first, and then you guys feel free to add if you have any other points you want to add. In my opinion, when I was reading this book, my thought was, no matter which business or what business you're in, at some point in time, you will face challenges and calamities. It's going to happen. And these challenges can come from competitors, a new product launch that is devastating to your product line. It could be regulators, governments, state, federal bodies that come up with new rules and regulations that impact your business. Could be employees who make errors, mistakes. Could be weather related, vendors, supply chain issues, shifting economic conditions. I mean, it could be anything. And most of the time, these are not predictable. So companies who can handle these challenges the best uh, will go again from good to great. And so they described certain processes that the great companies had put in place that helped them navigate these turbulent and challenging times. So what were the three practices they talked about? One, they said, you know what? Lead with questions, not answers. Said many business leaders seem to think they have all the answers. They have big egos here. So yeah, I know. I've been around. I've seen it. I'm a CEO. But that's not how great companies ran. They said they focused on. They said, I understand. I don't have all the answers. So what do the level 5 leaders do? They engage their team members. They ask the right questions, and no matter where the answers led to, they said, we'll go from there. So leading with questions and not answers was one way they were able to navigate challenging times. Second, they talked about engage in dialogue and debate, not coercion. Many times, the junior team members are, they feel intimidated by senior managers. Oh, should I say this? If I say this, will I be looked upon as a rebel? No, I think good level 5 managers, they usually act as moderators and mediators until a consensus is reached, because they understand intense debate leads to healthy outcomes because everyone is heard, and the team finally then gets behind a collective decision. Then whether they succeed or fail, it's everybody's issue, right? So people just want to be heard. They want to be. I tell this to our team all the time. Well, just give your ideas. Maybe we don't accept the ideas, but at least you said it. We've heard it, and then we go on from there. So that's important to have that dialogue and debate. And finally, the point the book makes is, level 5 leaders, they conduct autopsies to learn, not to blame. So all companies make mistakes, but the idea is to learn without blame. Don't hide your mistakes. Analyze what happened and grow from there. One of the ex-mayors of Chicago had one time said this: don't let a crisis go to waste. And I think that's what good companies do, that are going from good to great. They learn from their mistakes. They learn from what happened. They don't blame anybody, but they just grow together. So I want to cover this Netflix blockbusters, which I also a big fan of this case study. But before I do that, Umar, do you wanna add anything to the confront the brutal facts? Anything from your reading that you wanted to touch upon?
No, I'm good, Jaz. You did great there.
Okay, Farah, anything from your side that we have missed? Or?
Nope, you're good.
Okay, so the case study I wanted to share, and I know Umar and I talked about this on the side before the meeting here. This Netflix versus Blockbuster is a great case study in confronting the brutal facts, right? I mean, we all know what happened. We all know what the final outcome is. Blockbuster is out of business now, and Netflix is over $500 billion market cap company. But here's what happened, right? Back when when the dot-com bubble was bursting, things were really, really bad. Netflix was in major trouble. They had started a company that they were doing, sending these DVDs through the mail, etc. They found themselves in a $50 million hole, right? They were in really, really bad shape. They get a call. The CEO and his partner gets a call. Hey, come to Dallas. I'm somewhere in Texas, I believe, but it was Dallas, I'm pretty sure. Come to Dallas, Blockbuster CEOs and the management team want to meet you. So they think they'll buy us out. Great opportunity. So they get on a plane. They're on vacation someplace, company retreat. They get out there. They meet with them, and they get laughed out when they ask for $50 million. A Blockbuster executive simply laughed and said, "Are you kidding me? You guys are doing about 2 million in revenue. You want 50 million for your company." And they were thinking, we're 50 million in debt. That's all we want back. But they got laughed out. They left. They're very embarrassed by the experience. Anyways, Blockbuster at that time was doing 6 billion in revenue. They had brick and mortar stores everywhere. It was a kind of a robust business. But the idea was Netflix said maybe we can do a hybrid model where you can offer your brick and mortar stores can have your DVD, but we can also do it by mail and so forth. But bottom line didn't work out, right? But instead, what did Blockbuster do? They ended up in the aisles. They started selling popcorn and candy and Twizzlers and all this kind of stuff that we all are familiar with. And eventually, the business completely got wiped out, and now Netflix is just one of the FANG companies and so forth. So, but the lesson was Blockbuster management team did not confront the brutal fact that things are changing. Streaming is coming in, the customer is moving away. But they were so concerned about keeping their business mechanics intact that they sacrificed the entire business, trying to hold on to what was a melting iceberg, if you will. So and I'm sure we all can come up with many, many examples of this type where strong management teams didn't confront their own situation. Instead, they're gone now. So, anyways, just wanted to talk about that. Farad, I wanted you to touch upon the second concept under this discipline thought, which is the hedgehog versus the fox parable that the author used to discuss this. So, if you want to take it away.
Of course. Thank you, Jazz. So first thing first, I kept asking myself, why did they call it the hedgehog concept? Like, what's so special about a hedgehog? And then later on in the book, figured out that the fox knows many things, but the hedgehog knows one big thing. So this ties back the whole entire book together for me, which is like the good to great companies are the hedgehogs. They're simple creatures. They focus on one thing and they execute it perfectly. While the fox is it's a sly animal. They're very cunning creatures. They lack consistency and all that. So I found it very cool where the hedgehog name came from, which is the hedgehog concept. A lot of people during the whole entire book, when I was reading this section, figured out that the hedgehog concept is an understanding. It's to be able to go ahead and understand what you are doing. In order to go from a good company to a great company, they need to have a deep understanding of these three intersecting circles. What are you passionate about? What is it that makes you want to do what you want to do? Passion. What can you do? Can you be the best in the world at? Like, what are you made for? And the last one is, what drives your economic engine? Once all these circles intersect, then the hedgehog concept comes into play. And this is where you go from good to great company, as soon as you have that understanding.
Good. Makes sense. Umar, your thoughts on this?
Oh no, nothing. I'm good. Thanks for
Okay.
the.
So my take on this, I read this chapter with a lot of interest, and basically what the author is trying to say here is, the good to great companies do something which is better than everybody else, which is what they consistently stick to doing what they do best, and they avoid getting distracted in new fields of business that take away from their core competencies. This is a very, very important point. And that's the whole thing about this ancient Greek parable about the hedgehog and the fox, which Farah touches. Basically, a hedgehog does one thing but does it really, really well. In the meantime, the fox is trying all these different things to gets distracted, doesn't really help its own situation. So the book says these companies that took this big leap going from good to great, they really figured out the intersection point, which is, what are we most passionate about? What can we and our team get most excited about? Second, can we be profitable doing this? And how profitable can we be doing this? And finally, can we be the best in the world at doing it? And when these three circles are drawn and that intersection point in the middle is dark, that is really your hedgehog concept. Because once you figure that part out, you truly can be successful. And I thought using this parable was an incredible way to communicate that point. And I think to a great degree, many successful companies at some point figure that out, and when they figure that out, they explode from there. I wanted to move now to the I believe I, once you get the people right, you get your strategy in place, You really have to then, it all comes down to execution, and whether and to be successful over time. So first concept the book discusses is about creating a culture of discipline, and this what the author talks about is you must create a culture of freedom and responsibility where everyone should know their roles and expectations. Because if you have the right people, they don't need motivation. They know their job, they know their function, they know their duties. But you give them freedom, you give them responsibility, you express the expectations from them, and then they go at it. And honestly, that's how we run our company at UIF as well. That everybody, titles don't mean anything. Everybody knows their job, what they need to do, and we're off and running. And I think it works best. Uh, in a similar vein, cultivating that entrepreneur mindset, not just about one revenue, but also expense management, cost management. How can we save company money? Because every dollar saved is a dollar we can invest in technology and marketing and so forth. So entrepreneurs have that mindset. They want to generate revenue, but they also want to save on expenses so they can drive more towards the bottom line. The third point the book makes about this culture of discipline is reward people based on merit rather than favoritism and nepotism. Many companies, they bring on people who they hire. Oh, my sister does this, my nephew does that, my uncle does this, my son becomes a vice president of a company, having no experience in it at all, or wife's daughter now is running a department. That's not how great companies work. You need to say, put aside your biases. You reward the best people, move them up, and let them do things that need to be done. And finally, most companies give a to-do list to their employee. Hey, do this, do this, do this, right? The book argues, don't do that. Create a stop doing list. And what is a stop doing list? It basically is talking about things. Please don't do these things. Don't get distracted. Focus on these things. You have a mission, a vision, and here's the plan. Just go at it. Stop doing other things. So the book talks about the stop doing list as opposed to a to-do list. And that, Umar, ties back to the technology as an accelerator. If you want to cover that, I thought you were very inspired by that from my discussion with you earlier. So
Yeah, definitely. So let's talk about the technology as an accelerator. So unlike mediocre companies, great companies, they think about technology very differently. They don't adopt new tech just because it's trendy or because everyone else is doing it. Instead, they use technology selectively, making sure it directly aligns with their greater purpose. What Collins calls the hedgehog concept, right, which we just discussed, which is the core thing that they do best. Technology for these companies is a tool that serves the broader vision, not a distraction or a gimmick. Take Walgreens as an example. In the late 90s, during the internet boom, many companies rushed to get online. Competitors like drugstore.com got a lot of early hype and had inflated stock prices. But Walgreens didn't panic. They took a crawl, walk, run approach that their CEO mentioned in an interview, carefully researching and planning how to use the internet in a way that fit their long-term strategy. When they finally launched their online presence, it wasn't just reactive, it was strategic, and it propelled them forward. This is the key. Great companies use technology to build momentum after they've hit a breakthrough. The common thread here is that great companies become fanatical about using technology to improve their operations and serve their purpose. But they don't treat technology as the main theme of their success. Rather, it's a powerful accelerator when used in the right way. So in short, technology doesn't make a company great by itself. It's how a company integrates it into their long-term strategy that matters. The most successful organizations understand that technology should always serve a greater goal, not the other way around. So did you guys have any thoughts on this section of the book?
yeah, I was gonna just add, real life example here. Back in the late '90s, when I started working on Wall Street with the UBS and then with Solomon Smith Barney that turned into Morgan Stanley, we were bringing a lot of these companies public, these dot-com companies, and all the rage was every company needed to invest in all this technology. So companies like Sun and Cisco and all these network companies, JDS, Uniface, etc., you had to buy their fiber and switches and routers and stuff because every company felt you have to just go crazy and invest in technology just to compete with the other companies. Eventually, it failed miserably. Also, if you guys remember, when the clock struck, I believe it was 2000, there was a big discussion about how all these computers are going to malfunction, et cetera, et
Right.
cetera. So all these companies went and upgraded their systems and servers and computers, way overspending on technology. Eventually, many of these companies went bankrupt because the money they had borrowed to invest in the technology didn't really pan out for them. I feel to a great degree, I'm seeing the same movie play out right now with the big hope for AI and the amount of money that is being spent on AI, on chips with NVIDIA and other things, servers and server farms and so forth. And you can tie that with cryptomania, with blockchain technology, etc., with companies thinking they have to spend. Surendra Pichai, CEO, on the last earnings call, came out and said, "Listen, we can't underspend. The risk is to our business is underspending, so we have to overspend." And I think this is exactly what's going to happen again. Every company is going to overspend on technology, whether it's AI or whatever, and they're going to realize at some point the returns are just not there. And you have used up a lot of money. Maybe larger companies are okay; they have so much cash coming in, they can probably be fine. But a lot of other companies trying to compete will have a huge issue, and I think this would lead to some major problems down the road. Don't know when, but down the road. So the big thing, Umar, like you pointed out, what these great companies in the book did, they didn't jump into technology. They said, no, let's first see how can this technology help us. They did some deep analysis, and then they invested in technology that paid dividends for many, many, many years to come. So, lesson for management team is be careful. You have to invest in technology. There's no way around it. But be careful. You don't need to compete with the Jones. You need to think about what is best for you. Is it absolutely needed? And what are you going to get out of it? So I think that point was well made in the book about using technology as an accelerator, but don't go overboard on this. Umar, I think once we've covered this, which is the people, the thoughts, the execution, then the book brings it full circle and says that once you have all of these three things going, you create this flywheel effect, which is a very powerful effect. So can you touch upon that? What that means?
Yeah, so there's basically comparison that Collins does between the flywheel versus the doom loop. So the concept of the flywheel explains how great companies build success over time. In the early stages, no one pays attention to all the small moves, those incremental steps that seem insignificant from the outside. But internally, the slow, steady progress feels organic. Over time, as these moves compound, the company gains momentum, and suddenly what seems like overnight success to outsiders is actually the result of years of hard work. This is the flywheel effect. Momentum builds as the company continues to achieve tangible accomplishments, and eventually everyone within the company gets on board with enthusiasm. On the other hand, there's the doom loop. This is where companies constantly change direction, switching leaders, chasing the latest trends, and making a lot of noise without a clear focus. There's no consistent strategy, and as a result, these companies struggle to build lasting success. The lack of continuity prevents them from gaining any meaningful momentum. What sets great companies apart is that they stick to their hedgehog concept, what they do best. Even when they make acquisitions, it's strategic and fits into their long-term vision. They don't rush or shift focus. They allow the flywheel to turn steadily, and that's what leads to sustained greatness. So, Ijaz, Farah, any comments, thoughts on that part of the book?
Yeah, I was just going to interject the Amazon example. In his book, Jeff Bezos, he talks about this flywheel and how they use this concept from the book uh, to Amazon's incredible success. And he basically said, we figured out very early that we need to have low prices and great service. So he said, once we have that going, low price and great service, it brings in more customers. And when you bring in more customers, then you need to have more products and more vendors, and more products and more vendors means more competition, means it again ties back to being able to offer products and at low prices and great service. So he said that was our flywheel. Initially started off very slow, offering limited products, but low prices and great service. And then that led to more customers to more products, and more products to, again, more better pricing and so forth. So that flywheel effect that Amazon utilized really propelled them. Before they were able to launch other products like the cloud and so forth, but that that flywheel effect is so important. Initially, it moves very slowly, right? No matter which company you are. We started off very slowly at UIF 20 plus years ago, and then with maybe the first home financing contract. And then we got better and better and better. So similarly, I feel companies have to figure that out, what their flywheel is going to be and how they can get moving. And everybody has to be on the same side. The entire team has to keep pushing that flywheel so it slowly starts moving, and then it picks up steam, and then you really go to greatness from there. So that really is it. Great job, team. Omar, I'm going to just conclude with some closing thoughts about this book, because we covered the main points. In my opinion, I mean, this is a fabulous book. I absolutely love it. I hope we did justice to some of the ideas here. But I want to end the book part with a quote that actually is in the beginning of the book, which says, "Good is the enemy of great." Okay. And the author argues that whether you're a business or a person, we all learn to get by in life by being good. And that is what holds us back. We don't push ourselves hard because we truly never appreciate greatness. I talk to our team members all the time on our weekly sales calls and others about, to being great, you need to have a different mindset. Many team members usually just stay average for years and years and years, right? They never make that move because they're just satisfied by being good. Why be great when you can be good? But this is something that the author argues, this is not a business problem. It is really a human problem. We all suffer from that. So we need to crack the code really on what makes us tick, what motivates us, what are we most passionate about. Because once we figure that out, we can get on the right bus and then be truly successful over time. So that's sort of our book conclusion. Umar, Farah, any last comments you guys have?
Honestly, I highly recommend this book. If you This book, you can also apply concepts just not even just to a company, but even to your own personal life, for yourself as an individual, which I found very fascinating. I started even myself applying certain concepts into it. Um, Inshallah, our viewers would go ahead and read this book, and it will help them. Omar?
Definitely agree, Farah. And I would say if those who are listening to this and they're interested on this topic, Jim Collins, his website, jimcollins.com, has a lot of resources. So I would definitely check that out. He has, all the concepts that we discussed today and more on his website, and different articles and podcasts and things like that as well. So I got a lot out of that from doing research on this book and studying it. So I found that really helpful. Farah, I know you did as well. So I highly recommend that. Ajaz, anything else you want to add before we wrap up today?
Yeah, Umar, one of the things I did want to end is, normally I don't use this platform to talk about UIF, but truly, honestly, a lot of the principles from this book, I feel we as managers have been applying at UIF, our company, and results have shown over the last 20 years. We've gone from really a no-name brand company in the faith-based financing to by far the leading company in the space, won awards for the customer service. We all know IFN, a global publication, gave us the number one ranked real estate faith-based financing company 9 years in a row, last 3 years globally. Our customers frequently thousands of reviews on Google, giving us 5-star ratings in almost every market we serve. And last 3 years, we've been the number one originator of Islamic home financing in the country. And that brings a lot of attention. I mean, a lot of people from other companies, we get resumes every day, 5 to 10 resumes. Hey, we want to join you, but we are selective because we are trying to get the right people on the bus. We've launched multiple products, auto, commercial, deposit accounts, and so forth, sponsored, supported so many community events. And we have been doing it for a while. And what has made us successful? What are our principles? Very simple. We focus on our people, focus on our products, and we focus on customer service. And that is our flywheel. Our flywheel is basically our people who we want to treat, love, care, be affectionate to, leads to more products, offerings, and then back to good customer service and back to more customers. So, our wheel has been turning and turning because of the amazing people that we have. And, we've always, looked at our corporate journey as a destination. What I'm getting at is we look at perfection uh, as a destination, not as a goal in itself. And we've talked about that at company level, that, we will never reach perfection. But while trying to attain perfection, we're going to become excellent along the way. And we will be very happy with this outcome. And I encourage listeners really to, visit our website, experience the UIF difference, maybe open a small savings account, $500 with our company to get started, become part of our UIF family, if you will. Look into home, auto financing, wherever we can help you. And I promise you, you will be glad you did. So that is sort of my closing comments, Umar. I know we've said this is going to be purely about the books, the speakers we bring on, but I had to take this opportunity to talk about UIF here because I think really we have stood strong and getting stronger by the day. And I really want our audience members to listen to us and check us out and be part of our family. So that's it, Umar. I'll turn it back to you. Thank you.
Appreciate it, Ijaz. So we are done for today. Really hope the discussion on Good to Great was beneficial and helpful to you. Just like our previous podcast, we're always looking to deliver, value to our community members and those who are listening to us. Just want to make your life better, easier in whatever way we can. So this podcast is one of those ways that we're doing it. And if you can't, check out our website, like Ijaz was mentioning, at myuif.com. And we have, different pages there about our different products and services that we offer. So if you can check that out, that would be fantastic. And then also definitely if you can share, our podcast with friends and family, subscribe, that would be very, very helpful in helping us grow this platform so we can reach more people in the future and benefit them. So without saying anything more, we're going to wrap up for today. Thanks for listening. Wishing everyone the best. Take care. As-Salaam Alaikum.